back by popular demand, today we will talk about some top picks in the $200 segment. Welcome to the Superchunk Super Audio Show. For folks who are looking to upgrade from their sub $100 IEMs, don't miss out on today's video. So the first IEM that I am very excited to recommend would be the Final Audio A5000. I think this earphone is quite special. On the chassis, it features a finishing technique that isn't seen on any other IEM. Final used the Shibo finish, which is pretty common in the realm of photography, as this is the sort of finishing that you see in popular mirrorless cameras such as the ones from Sony, Nikon or Canon. The chassis is slightly angular but also still fits excellently in my ears. Also in terms of comfort, the A5000 is excellent as it is really lightweight, and the cable that is paired with is also really comfortable as well. It is interestingly a 6-core cable that has a box braid from the 3.5mm to the splitter. Rarely do you find such a cable that is soft and supple and yet not become a tangle monster when trying to whip them out. Next, when it comes to sound, the A5000 is very versatile as it is tuned in a really balanced manner. Because of this, if you're looking to upgrade from a chifi, I think it is rather risk-free as it can suit many genres. Bass on the A5000 is impactful and dynamic, certainly enough for all genres. The bulk of the bass here comes from the sub-bass, and this allows for a cleaner mid-range presentation. Bass has a good kick and is rather tight. Details are really crisp and the rumble is also really nice as well. The mid-range here is well balanced in relation to the other spectrums. It does not sound congested, although historically many instruments and voices tend to crowd these frequency bands. Instruments are very well defined with little graininess. Details are also aplenty. Resolution and technicalities on the A5000 for its price remains pretty amazing. Female vocals are a treat with really nice overtones. It is crisp and natural. It has a natural tonal weight, not overly thick nor lean. Coherence is excellent and really the best in this list. Treble, beautifully airy and articulate. Air is abundant in the A5000. The A5000 renders crashes and cymbals with good bite and is never rough. Extension is decent, as to me it is really adequately airy. Soundstage, when it comes to width and height, the A5000 is a very spacious listen. Width is vast and broad while the height is tall. You get quite a grand sense of scale that is done quite well. When it comes to depth and positioning, you can hear the depth of the instruments on the A5000. Positioning is also really accurate. Of course, the A5000 is not perfect. Let's talk about some things I like and do not like about it. So there's a lot of things to like on the A5000. It is just so versatile and can suit most genres. Build quality is also quite a step up above others on the list. A solid light shell that is paired with easily the most comfortable cable on this list. But it isn't perfect, to be honest. Although I find the A5000 to be natural sounding, there will be folks who feel that there isn't enough bass impact. So if you are a bass head, don't get these. These are really good as an all-rounder, but if you really like bass and just listen to bass all the time, this might not be enough for you. Next IEM on the list will be the LED Shower Cadenza 4. Now the Cadenza 4 is LED Shower's latest offering that features a hybrid configuration. It is made from resin that is 3D printed by Hageas. Now Hageas was the company that built the chassis of the Moondrop variation and even the Truthier's Hexa, so you might be quite well acquainted with them. The Cadenza 4 sports a white resin that gives a rather distinct look. The chassis here feels a little different from the variation and Hexa, as it feels quite a little more hollow. I like the velvety touch that LED Shower has done on the surface of the resin, as it gives it a slightly more premium touch. At the heart of the Cadenza 4 is a hybrid IEM that sports 4 drivers. One beryllium-coated dynamic driver that is met with 1 sonium balance armature and 2 Knowles balance armature. The Cadenza 4 augments the current popular meta of which most IEMs are tuned to, which is a natural warm tuning. What LED Shower did was pretty smart, where they lowered the upper mid slightly, creating a different perception to the overall tone. Bass on the Cadenza 4 is certainly more sub-bass focused. This again creates a very clean overall sound without mid-bass mucking around the mid-range. I found bass extension to be good as well. Also, the resolution in bass region is very defined. on better mastered tracks such as Wheels of Fortune by Hans Zimmer from Pirates of the Caribbean. So you get a realistic rendering of bass with beautiful reverb, which you can clear the texture very clearly. Mid-range, earlier I mentioned that the upper mids was slightly dampened compared to what is popular. This lends to a perception of meatier lower mids. Lower mids sound full with excellent clarity as you get virtually no bass bleed with the cadenza 4. As such, instrument layering is very easily deciphered. Male vocals sound a bit fuller compared to other offerings. Upper mids, because of the slight dampening, they are still really rather forward, but with none of that shoutiness. When it comes to technicalities, the cadenza 4 fares very well on the whole, with good resolution and cohesive transients. Treble extension is quite good, pretty smooth sounding as the usual suspects such as hi-hat and crashes are not gratingly rough and still have rather good detail. These are slightly airy as well, but perhaps not as much as I'd like, as there is a slight roll off on the upper end of the spectrum. When it comes to soundstage, width and height, it is pretty expensive in both spectrums, giving you a realistic rendering of music. Perhaps the stage of a decent size hall. Depth and positioning. Depth again is pretty good as it is aided by the lack of mid-bass bleed and good dynamics of bass. You can feel the depth of music. Some things I like and do not like. In terms of tuning, I like that the cadenza 4 is a more relaxed sounding IEM in a world where it is quite the norm to have an exciting upper mids. Although relaxed sounding, it still have good level of resolution. This is a breath of fresh air in a sea of similarities. Now, what I do not like about it, well, I do feel that the build quality of the cadenza 4, although adequate, can feel a little bit too light. Also, the friction-based interchangeable plugs which it comes with will wear out rather quickly as well. So don't change your 3.5 to 4.4s too often. Next up, the last one on the list would be Kiwi Ears Quintet. As its name suggests, the Quintet is a 5-driver representative from Kiwi Ears, and this is a quad-bridge IEM. That is to say that it features 4 driver types in its chassis. At the heart of bass lies a 10mm dynamic driver with a diamond light coating. Layering on top of that are 2 nose balance armature that handles mid-range, and a microplaner is then used for treble, and lastly a piezoelectric driver is used as the super tweeter. The Quintet is a very mild V-shaped earphone compared to what we have seen in the market these days. Tonally, they are what I would consider as natural sounding rather than the more common natural warm sounding IEM. What you will experience with the Quintet is class leading positioning and depth. Bass. Bass on the Quintet, again, sub-bass is the most prominent aspect, and that rumbles are beyond satisfactory. It is quite amazing that you still get respectable bass at 30Hz in terms of timbre because the bass is handled by the dynamic driver. There is a very nice wave of airy resonance whenever the beat drops. Mid-bass here tapers off quite gradually, allowing for punchy bass that never really bloats. I like how articulate the mid-bass is as it allows for bass runs to sound very lively, so you can just put on some Red Hot Chili Peppers and listen on to Flea. They sound really good on this pair. Mid-range on the Quintet is sprightly and lively. It has a very neutral tonal weight here and does not lean warm, but I think that this is to the benefit of the overall tuning as it features a very spirited rendering of mid-range. Instruments in the mid-range just sound very energetic here. Vocals again adopt this neutral tonal weight and isn't all that warm, but this allows for a very detailed rendering of vocals. I like how female vocals sound on the Quintet. It is pretty darn sweet. And in terms of resolution, these are really fantastic. Treble is pretty smooth with good detail overall. I found that on the whole the Quintet is quite airy. You do get some radiance with the Quintet, but I think that this helps with the other ranges such as mid-range to have even more separation. Soundstage, when it comes to width and height, they are again very good in both width and height. They sound big as if you're in a very nicely acoustically treated concert hall. Depth and positioning, I do find that depth and positioning is also really good on these. Positioning to me is excellent when I hear the higher pitch instruments have their runs. They tend to be very clear and articulate, and you can really pinpoint where it's coming from. Depth too is also pretty stunning as the transients of bass is fast, allowing you to have a very good perception of bass. Next up, what I like and do not like about the Quintet. Now, the Quintet is highly resolving at its price point. I'm also a little surprised by the amount of air that it possesses. This is one very nimble sounding IEM. For me, I found the tonal weight to be acceptable, but for some folks, that can be a point of contention as it certainly leans on the leaner side. Also, this is one where bass hit should just clearly stay away from. And in conclusion, these are my favorite in the $200 price range. Yes, they are kind of more on the natural warm side of things. I don't really have a very strong recommendation in this price range for a bass hit IEM. If you have any recommendations on a warmer IEM in its price range, do let me know in the comments section down below. And with that said, thanks for watching the Superchunk Super Audio Show. I really appreciate it. If you like the content, please press the like and subscribe button somewhere down below. And if you've already done so, you are amazing. But if you have not, you can be fabulous as well by just liking and subscribing. With that said, I hope to see you guys very, very soon.